This is BBC News. I'm Vicky Young. The headlines at 8. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been married at a ceremony in St George's Chapel, Windsor, in a royal wedding that's been watched across the world. The bride arrived at the chapel with 10 page boys and bridesmaids and wearing a dress by a female British designer. Prince Charles accompanied Meghan Markle down the final part of the aisle, while Prince Harry and her mother looked on.
Meghan, I give you this ring.
As a sign of our marriage.
As a sign of our marriage.
With my body, I honour you.
With my body, I honour you.
All that I am, I give to you.
All that I am, I give to you.
With the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh watching, the married couple made their way to see the thousands waiting outside the castle grounds. Celebrity friends and family were among the 600 people in the chapel, while more than 1,000 members of the public were invited into the castle grounds.
It's like being in a dream all day. It feels like we're walking on air. It's kind of just like, wow. Wow.
It's been a great day. The weather's been lovely. It couldn't have been better.
In the past hour, Prince Harry has driven Meghan Markle in a classic E-Type Jaguar from Windsor Castle to a reception for close family and friends at nearby Frogmore House. And in sport, we'll have coverage of all today's football action, including Chelsea's win over Manchester United in the FA Cup final. Good evening and welcome to BBC News. Prince Harry has married Meghan Markle in the historic surroundings of St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. The ceremony, watched by a global audience of hundreds of millions of people, was a blend of traditional British pageantry with a modern outlook, a mix of gospel music and hymns. The couple, the new Duke and Duchess of Sussex, made their vows to love and cherish each other, watched by family and celebrity friends, with more than 100,000 people lining the narrow streets of Windsor to convey their delight. In the past hour, Prince Harry and his new wife Meghan left Windsor Castle in an open-top Jaguar for their evening wedding reception at Frogmore House on the Windsor estate. Here's our royal correspondent, Nicholas Witchell.
On a day which could scarcely have been better, an American bride came to Windsor Castle for a very British occasion. In sparkling sunshine, huge crowds lining the Long Walk watched and cheered as the motorcade brought Meghan Markle to her wedding. In the car, Meghan and her mother Doria Ragland. Within the castle grounds, the groom Harry and best man William, dressed in the frock coat uniforms of their former regiment, the Blues and Royals, had walked down to St George's Chapel. The Queen arrived with the Duke of Edinburgh, his first formal appearance since his hip replacement operation 6 weeks ago. At precisely midday, the bride's limousine arrived at the chapel's Great West Door, and for the first time there was a clear sight of the wedding dress, the work of the British designer Claire Waite Keller. There was a tiara, a veil into which had been woven emblems from every Commonwealth country, and a long train. At the altar, a groom looking a little anxious, and the bride's mother. What, one wonders, were her emotions today? At the Great West Door, the bride was ready. It was a moment to make a page boy and many others gasp. She walked the first part of the procession, accompanied by her young attendants, the page boys and bridesmaids, among whom were Prince George and Princess Charlotte. And then at the halfway point, she was joined by Prince Charles, taking the role which should have been that of the bride's father, and escorting her to the high altar where Harry was waiting. "Thank you, Pa," said Harry, and at that moment it became all about the two people standing at the altar. The Archbishop of Canterbury led the couple in their marriage vows.
I, Harry, take you, Meghan,
I, Harry, take you, Meghan,
to be my wife,
to be my wife,
to have and to hold,
to have and to hold,
from this day forward,
from this day forward,
for better, for worse,
for better, for worse,
for richer, for poorer,
for richer, for poorer,
in sickness and in health,
in sickness and in health,
to love and to cherish,
to love and to cherish,
till death us do part.
till death us do part.
I, Meghan, take you, Harry,
I, Meghan, take you, Harry,
to be my husband,
to be my husband,
to have and to hold,
to have and to hold,
from this day forward,
from this day forward,
for better, for worse,
for better, for worse,
for richer, for poorer,
for richer, for poorer,
in sickness and in health,
in sickness and in health,
to love and to
to love and to cherish,
till death us do part.
till death us do part.
Rings were exchanged, and then the Archbishop of Canterbury made the proclamation all those watching had been waiting for.
I therefore proclaim that they are husband and wife.
There was a gospel choir which sang "Stand By Me,"
So darling, darling, stand by me.
and an American preacher who talked about love.
Think about a time when you first fell in love. Love is the only way. There's power in love.
Among the congregation was a sprinkling of celebrities. But like any wedding, the day belonged to the husband and wife at the centre of it. In this case, the couple who will be known as their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The titles had been bestowed by the Queen. So the Duke escorted his Duchess out of the chapel. On the steps, lined by members of the household cavalry, they paused for a kiss. And then to their waiting carriage and the procession through the centre of Windsor. They were escorted by the lifeguards and the Blues and Royals, squeezing their way through the narrow streets in the centre of town. The crowds were much too much for a town the size of Windsor. Most people had been directed down to the Long Walk, where they'd been waiting in the sunshine. It was a chance for the public to feel part of the celebrations, and many thousands had responded, packing the Long Walk to offer their greetings and congratulations to the royal family's newlyweds, Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News, Windsor.
Well, the happy couple have now left Windsor Castle and headed to a small reception nearby. Our royal correspondent Johnny Diamond has more.
Well, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, as they are now known, have just completed their last public engagement, if you want to call it an engagement. It has been an astonishingly long day, probably one of the longest days. That fabulous marriage service in St George's Chapel, followed by a lunchtime reception for 600 people, hosted by Her Majesty the Queen. A brief pause after that reception. Let's not forget, of course, the procession that happened before the reception. And we just saw them drive off in a rather impressive Jaguar E-Type, silver blue E-Type, that the palace informs us has been transferred so that it can use electric power. The Duchess of Sussex, as we will now call her, had changed out of her wedding dress and into a bespoke lily white high-necked Stella McCartney number. And if you are able to look closely at the car, you will see that the number plates of that Jaguar E-Type are E190518, and that, of course, is their marriage day. We will not see anything more of them. They are going into a private reception at Frogmore House, which is in the grounds of Windsor Castle, and that is hosted by Prince Harry's father, the Prince of Wales. 200 people there. It's the closer friends and family who've been invited to that one. I imagine a day or two of rest, and then on Tuesday they will be at the Prince of Wales's garden party, the garden party that's being held especially to celebrate his 70th birthday.
Johnny Diamond there in Windsor. Well, friends, families and fans packed the streets and the tree-lined long walk to get a glimpse of the new Duke and Duchess of Sussex going past in their carriage. Some spent the night waiting, and many came in fancy dress for picnics in the spring sunshine. Rita Chakrabarti spent the day with them.
Weren't on the guest list, but this is a party they weren't going to miss, and everyone here was determined to have themselves a ball. Elsie, Helen and Courtney are 3 generations of the same family. Devoted royalists, they think they've notched up 9 royal weddings between them.
I mean, we've done it before because we went to, all 3 of us, plus other members of our family. We went to see Steps on the Mall for Kate and William.
It's a really good atmosphere and it's really nice to be with the family and doing it together.
And the camaraderie and the community spirit is just wonderful. It really is when Britain kind of comes together, and it's just fantastic.
And we're all royalists. And I did go to Princess Margaret in the Mall again, but that was years ago, and she was beautiful. Yeah, beautiful.
Bobby, Aaron and Ash are members of the armed forces and enjoying a day off in the sun. But you see Harry quite a lot, I think.
We see Harry quite often, yeah. Obviously been in the armed forces, been in the Queen's Guards. We obviously see him on many occasions on birthday parades, Queen's birthday parades coming up, and we also see him in different events in London.
Have you ever spoken to him?
I have indeed, yeah. I did the security for the London Marathon and we had a chat and got my picture with him and stuff.
For 12-year-old Phoebe, it's the bride who was the main draw.
Meghan, she's American and like she is not just like fully British and everything. She's like multicultural, and it's really nice, like you can relate to her, and it's really nice to have a change. That's what I like about it.
While 6-year-old Rose had a novel theory about Prince Harry.
Harry's lonely and he was in the war. I didn't know anything else.
As people watched proceedings on the big screens, there was admiration for the dress, applause for the Queen and Meghan Markle's mother.
Sit down, we got to get you all married.
And some hilarity at watching the contrasting worlds within the chapel.
This is the moment they've all been waiting for. People have been here for hours and hours and they're going wild.
I got the back a little bit and the front of the horses in the carriage, yeah.
And it's a lot to take in such a short amount of time, but this is amazing, absolutely amazing.
When they went past, we got a perfect shot, so yeah, it was worth it.
It was very weird that I've actually seen them in person now, and I was in my dreams I thought I'm never going to be able to see them in person.
Well, as we saw there, more than 100,000 members of the public came to Windsor to enjoy the big day. Here are some of your snaps of what's happened. Hannah Abbey caught this pic of a message for all those taking the train to Windsor to watch the royal wedding. Alex Drury managed to take this great close-up shot of Harry and Meghan as they were driven through Windsor. Roland Kendall posted this picture of the royal couple waving from their carriage on Instagram. Charmaine Gooden clearly had a great time after flying all the way from Ottawa in Canada for the wedding. Mel Dobson was also there and took this lovely snap which shows a beaming bride waving to the crowds. And finally, Emily and Alice Rigg from Hampshire weren't able to make it to Windsor but did watch coverage of the royal wedding as the sun set in Hong Kong. Let's get a bit of reaction from the United States now, where this royal wedding has unsurprisingly generated huge interest, given the Duchess of Sussex is from Los Angeles. James Cook reports.
It's well before dawn in the Republic over the water, but the Cat and Fiddle is packed. They rejected the monarchy in 1776, but for many Americans the crown never went out of fashion, least of all with this bride.
Here in Los Angeles, Meghan Markle is a local. She's like our homegirl. And I think that she and Harry are very much in love, and they fought through so many social problems and issues and stigmatisms and just let their love prevail.
It was beautiful. I loved everything. It was not as traditional as usual, which I liked.
You can say that again.
Know God. Those who do not love do not know God.
5,500 miles from Windsor, there was amazement as white British aristocracy met black American spiritualism.
It was definitely American, and it was beautiful because it was encouraging, it was inspiring, and I know someone in there who's not used to it was touched in their soul. Seed was planted.
Well, the audience here found that to be an engrossing ceremony. 2.5 centuries after the Americans ditched the tyrannical British, the Crown, it seems, still has the capacity to entrance and surprise. James Cook, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Well, the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, led today's service, while American Bishop Michael Curry gave an impassioned wedding address on the meaning of love. Earlier, they spoke to us about today's service.
Really, two people in love and two people who were communicating with each other, sometimes with words and sometimes without. You could actually see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
There, you could, I mean, if you could visually see a relationship, we saw that.
Yeah, no, we did.
And it was contagious in the room. I mean, the thing is, you actually could feel it in the church, and people were happy. They were happy and joyful and thankful. And you know what? We need some joy in this world. We do.
Someone said to me afterwards at the reception, they said, that was so stunning. I want to go and do the vows again with me and my husband.
Yeah.
And because they were so captivated by that sense of love, and of love with a purpose, not just selfish love, not this, not sentimental sort of all drippy stuff, but love with a purpose to change the world. You can tell from the reaction of the crowds. There was a wonderful moment when they exchanged the vows, and that was unscripted. You heard this roar from outside, and I was sort of thinking, okay, well, what do we do with that? And do I talk over it or just go on? And I would say congratulations. What a fantastic start. People are with you as they are with new married couples, and God is with you. Pray, trust, keep going forward. You will have a wonderful life.
Well, let's speak to the Reverend Lisa Fishbeck, who worked with Bishop Curry for 15 years. Thank you very much for speaking to us this evening here on the BBC. He took the chapel by storm, really, getting up there, giving this impassioned sermon about love. It was unlike anything you'd normally see in an English church, really. Tell us a bit about the man that you know.
Oh, the man that I know served as my bishop for 15 years, or rather I served as a priest in his diocese for those 15 years. Michael Curry is a man of energy and joy, deep faith in the love of God, wanting others to feel that love. He has a perfect sense of humor, and is very much a social person. He's very comfortable with who he is, and he is to share for others so comfortably. And he's also very curious about justice, and so there's this joy, humor, but when it comes to preaching for justice, caring about those margins, he is right there and on point.
So you weren't surprised, presumably, that he got up there and spoke about not just love, but quoting Martin Luther King in front of the royal family. I'm sure many of them were sitting there thinking they'd never seen anything like this before, but you think he really came to this moment and brought forward the things that he feels very strongly about.
Absolutely, yeah. He regularly will preach out of the African American tradition. He will quote Martin Luther King. He will quote African-American spiritual music. That's the music of his childhood. It's very much a part of his narrative. So you heard that with the Balm in Gilead reference. But he's also a man who reads a lot and studies a lot. And you got a reference to Teilhard de Chardin in there. And so he's unrestrained and yet very focused.
And how much interest has there been where you are, and really across America, in what has been going on over here? Of course, the fact that a member of the British royal family is marrying an American girl must have increased the interest of.
Oh, I think so. I think that definitely caught the attention of a lot of Americans. And then when Michael Curry was announced as the preacher, all the Episcopalians got super excited on top of that. And the Twitter sphere has been quite a buzz, and Facebook, and people have been having parties. And I mean, I myself was going to just watch it on tape later on, but when we heard that Michael was preaching, Senior Warden said, we've got to have a party. And so we had a party this morning. We all got up. Not as early as California, perhaps, but early for us. And it was a lot of fun.
When it comes to the Episcopal Church, there's certainly a strong liberal stance there, isn't it, on things like social issues. Is that something that he believes in?
Well, I would say that one could call it even conservative, because there's a strong streak of justice and inclusion that runs throughout the scriptures. So he definitely is a man who preaches that gospel of inclusion, a place at the table for all. And you heard that in the sermon today as well.
We're just seeing some pictures that you've sent us, actually, of people sitting, watching what was going on. Now, what I want to know is, as you were all sitting there, what were the comments being made about him, and particularly about Meghan's dress?
Well, we mostly were repeating what the broadcaster or the person was saying about the dress. When it came to Michael, we were mostly just cheering and whooping and saying, that's our bishop, and go Michael, and yes, yes, yes. So it wasn't like a refined commentary as much as it was an exuberant cheer.
Well, it was certainly exuberant, and I can see that you took great joy from seeing him perform today, I think, as everyone did. Thank you very much indeed. That's the Reverend Lisa Fishbeck, who has worked with Pastor Curry for a very long time. Thank you very much. Now, images of today were beamed across the world. In Australia, expats and locals were among those raising a glass to the happy couple. Royal watchers in Sydney got into the spirit with an evening dinner party, with the wedding watched on a big screen. Harry and Meghan are due to travel the 10,000 miles to Sydney in October, where the Invictus Games will be held. The crowds at this party also joined in with a sing-along of that breathtaking rendition of Stand By Me, performed by Karen Gibson and the Kingdom Choir. Let's take a look back over some of today's key moments. big day in Windsor.